Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Janet Hall, and I've got a two-part series here, sort of like a college classroom, to where I wanted to talk to you about the politics of greed in health and medicine. I did a live stream about the coronavirus, COVID-19, last week, right before right after Palm Sunday, before Easter weekend. And I wanted to just go on and do a video about it so that you could take your time to go over it and study it. Literally, this is like a college classroom lecture to where we needed to talk about some ideas here to how we could move forward. There are ways that we can make our world better here. We can take the coronavirus and we can turn it into the best lesson we have been given so that we can make some changes, do some resets, and move forward into a healthier, happier, and more prosperous future. Look, we're all tired of the politics behind the coronavirus. So let's surface some solutions here. There's always a solution to a problem. And this is how we open the future to health and prosperity. We're going through a reset right now. And anytime you go through a reset, anytime you're facing a challenge, you have to look at the cause. You've got to get to the root of the problem. The problem could be you're broke. Why? You're tired all the time. Why? You're sick. Why? All right, we have this coronavirus, a plague circling the earth. Why? Well, to resolve any problem, you must identify the cause. So we need to look for the cause of what's behind the coronavirus. Just like you're going to look for the cause of what's behind any health problem. You can't cure a health problem. You cannot cure disease if you do not know what caused it. Same thing with economic issues. We've got to find the cause of why we have economic problems today so that we can resolve them. Family challenges are in there too. Look at the cause. And if you can't find it, dig for it, search for it, research for it. You'll find it. It's there. One of the causes for the coronavirus, a lot of our health problems and economic issues, and maybe some family challenges, are that humans, are dirty animals. We have to take responsibility that we have polluted ourselves into a corner here. I'm not going to say that we're overpopulated on the planet, because we're not. There's plenty of open spaces for people to live on the planet. Even in a desertous area, let's say Central Africa, Central Africa's Congo, let's go up into the Sahara area. One of the things that you could do for villages up in the Sahara desertous areas, teach them how to do aquaponic farming and greenhouse farming. Dig a water well, support your farming efforts, get everybody in the village to work together. That makes a huge difference, don't you think? It's even possible to grow fruit and vegetables up in Siberia. Just do it through a thermal regulated hydroponic greenhouse environment. People, we have the technology now. We can grow food on the moon. We can grow food on Mars. We can definitely grow food in Arizona or Uganda. We are, again, looking at the politics of greed. So the overpopulation just means that we are funneling people like sheep into certain areas. And most of them are unnatural cities, concrete cities that are out of balance with nature. And in these environments, they're getting dirtier and dirtier, and people are getting sicker and sicker. We are not recycling, whether we live in a big city or not. We are not taking our trash and recycling it properly. We've got to remember that when we take our trash in New York City, for example, throw it in a plastic bag, it gets thrown in a hole. When that hole fills up, it gets buried, and then we just dig another hole and do it all over again. This is irresponsible. Again, humans are dirty animals. We need to be recycling everything, even our food, like they used to do in Germany decades ago. They recycled their food into large composters, And these composters are then used for fuel and also for soil and gardening soil. We have a lot of work to do, people, and this reset has really been a blessing. The other thing that we don't do is focus our wealth on alternatives. There are many jobs out there, many entrepreneurs and small businesses can be started with taking our wealth and focusing on alternatives. Instead, we work hard, the majority of us work hard every single day to pay the machine. So keep in mind that we are packed into our cities, and this is very, very unnatural. It's very expensive. It costs us lots of money, and it costs us our health. So the solution is to build Greenbelt village communities. Just like Europe was decades and centuries ago. Take the politics of greed out of it and just look at the structure of it. Village communities are wonderful. Within them, you have local manufacturing. You have local farming and farmers markets, small businesses, family businesses. You don't need to pollute your village communities because you can bike, you can use golf carts, horse and buggies. You have walking trails inside each village. This is not only healthier for you, but it's also healthy for the environment. Then you use your high-speed rail to connect the villages to the larger cities. And within each village community, you have your local schools. And this is where your school board, your teachers, and your students are all part of the village. They're like one big happy family, and they can be held accountable a lot easier. All right? Now, you're going to think to yourself, okay, so there's a local school that has a lot of money in the village, and that school's doing really, really well. And then there's a village that might not have as much money, and that school is not doing as well. All right, this is sort of the situation that we see today, and it's not working. They take the money away from the successful schools, they break down the success of the local schools, and they try to weed that into the schools that are not successful and into the communities that aren't successful. That's not working, folks. You don't do that anyway. You don't take someone that needs some assistance, advice, not money, and not overtaking their failures. Instead, you share with them how you became successful, and you help them adopt the ways that will make them more successful. This is what we need to be doing, not throwing federal money at the schools, not limiting the success of the successors and hoping that that builds up the success of the failures. It's not working. And a really important point here is you limit the population growth in each of your villages and cities. Just like a movie theater, once the seats are full and it's filled up, the people that want to come see that movie have to wait for the next one. If your city and your local village becomes filled to the point to where it's going to become dirty, it's going to become too polluted, you're going to have to start cutting down natural spaces in order to pack in the people. Sorry, dudes. People are going to have to just go form their new city somewhere else. And it is so important to remember to support your local farmers. Another problem that we have with the politics of greed are vaccines. And we are seeing this with the coronavirus. Look, do not mandate vaccines. Honor a person's personal choice, because the COVID-19 has shown us that the world has vaccines that okay, let me rephrase that. I guess I'm kind of going backwards here. COVID-19 has shown the world that vaccines are not the only solution. There we go. Sorry. Alternatives and old school medications work too. I choose the alternatives and old school medications. I choose to have a good diet. I choose to get into the sunlight for vitamin D and vitamin A. I choose to eat well. I choose to get enough rest. All right? There are lots of alternatives that we can be doing to prevent disease. And then when the disease comes, there's still some good old school medications that work too. Vaccinations are not a one-stop shop, people, and we need to stop mandating that choice. Vaccines return us to the politics of greed. We can go into autism. We can go into Cancer prevention, we can go into so many topics to where vaccines and vaccinations and big pharma are not our one-stop shop. Politics. Okay, I was raised to where you don't get into politics and you don't get into religion. So I don't care if you're red, blue, white, green, whatever. What I care about is that we have apathetically given enough power and decision-making power to other people that those people are taking advantage of that power, and our politics isn't working for us at the moment. We need to really get in there and redo our political structure. A lot of it is, I'd say, apathy. A lot of it is trust. We have trusted that the people that we have elected have been honest and will do an honest job. No, we're looking at the politics of greed extraordinaire. So we need to propose term limits for all elected officials. We do for our president. We do for our governors. We need to propose term limits for all elected officials. And if we elect someone that makes over and above the salary that we pay their colleagues, then they should donate their salaries, just like our current President Trump is donating his salary. We need to audit all public officials each year after they take office. None of this political going back into history and trying to gum up the drama. No, let the public official, if we elect them, we elect them. But then they need to be audited year after year for each year that they are in office. Politics today strongly reflects the politics of greed, and we need to reset that. The other thing that we need to avoid is mainstream media. People, the media should be educators. They're nothing but teachers. They're giving you all the data. They're teaching you all the sides. As an educator, I don't typically give a conclusion. I'll give conclusions from the past. I'll give off the data. But I have enough respect for my students that they're going to come up with a conclusion. If it's wrong, we'll talk about it. And why is it wrong? It might not be wrong. There's lots of new ideas. When you do not give a biased opinion as the truth. The media has failed us terribly. They do not provide both sides of an issue. They're negative, political. They create fear and push their own personal biases. They get an F in the education of facts from this professor. Solutions. Never give up looking for solutions. So I go into them in a little more detail in the next video. And so I'm going to stop here and ask you to please listen to part 2, where we're going to talk about mainstream media, alternative energy, and some topics on how we can reset for a healthier, happier future.